Full gallop. The ground is a drum under 10,000 hooves. You rise in the stirrups, draw the bowstring to your ear, and for one heartbeat, the whole world holds its breath. Below you, a city that has never known fear watches its walls. Its people call you a rumor, a ghost story told to frighten children. Today they learn you are real. You loose. The arrow is already gone before they hear the string. But to understand how a herder's boy became the storm that swallows empires, you have to go back to the grass. Back before the fire, before the Khan, before the world learned your people's name. Back to a boy who owned nothing but a horse and the wind. You are born in a felt tent on an ocean of grass that runs farther than any man has ever ridden. No walls, no roads, no borders, only sky. Your first bed is a saddle blanket. Your first lullaby is the wind. Before you can walk, your father lifts you onto a horse and lets go. You are nobody, the son of herders, in a land the great empires have never bothered to map. They do not know your name. In time, they will never forget it. This is the story of how the grass rose up and rode to the edge of the world. This is your life, as a horseman of the great Khan. Level 1, the grass. You are 7. The steppe is beautiful, and it is trying to kill you. Summer burns. Winter freezes rivers solid and buries the herds. You learn the land like a language, where the sweet grass grows, where wolves den, which clouds carry snow that can end a family in a single night. Your father presses something into your palm, a small polished sheep's ankle bone on a leather cord. For luck, he says, a rider always comes home. You will carry it your whole life. He sets you on a dun mare with a black mane and one white sock. You name her Geralt, light. She will carry you farther than you can dream. By 9, you can shoot from the saddle at a dead run, loose between the beats of the hooves, when all 4 legs leave the ground and the world goes still. You hunt marmots and gazelle to feed your family. You miss, you go hungry. Out here, skill is not a game. It is the line between living and starving. Then comes the dzud, the great cold. Snow swallows the grass. The herds fall one by one. You press against Geralt at night just to keep from freezing. You watch your father count the dead animals with empty eyes. In the spring, half your world is bones. You are learning the first law of the steppe, only the hard survive. And the steppe is not empty. It is 100 tribes at each other's throats, raiding horses, stealing women, burning tents, blood feuds older than memory. One night the raiders come for you, hoofbeats in the dark, torches, screaming. You grab a bow with shaking hands. At 11 years old, you kill for the first time. You don't feel like a hero. You feel sick. You hide behind the tent and shake. But you lived, and on the grass, living is the only victory that counts. You grow up believing this is all there will ever be. Endless feuds, endless raids, tribe against tribe, forever, until a name begins to travel on the wind. Temujin. A man born clutching a clot of blood in his fist, they say. A man betrayed, enslaved, hunted, who refused to die. A man uniting the tribes under one sky. He does the impossible. Enemies who have hated each other for centuries kneel to the same banner. He gives them one law, one people, one name, Mongol. The horsetail banner rides to your camp. The choice is simple. Join or be swept away. Your people swear the oath. You look up at the man they now call Genghis Khan. His eyes pass over you for half a second, and something in your chest catches fire. You don't know it yet, but you have just handed your entire life to this man, every last day of it. Level 2, the making. You are 16, and the Khan does not want a mob. He wants a machine. He tears the old tribes apart and rebuilds you from nothing. 10 men to an arban, 10 arbans to 100, 10 hundreds to 1,000. You no longer ride beside your cousins. You ride beside strangers who will become closer than blood. The law is iron, and it is simple. If one man flees in battle, all 10 of you die. If 10 flee, the 100 dies. Your life is now stitched to the men beside you. One of them is Timur, broad, loud, a scar splitting his eyebrow and a gap-toothed grin. He shares his dried curd with you the first night and never stops talking. He becomes your brother. You train until the bow is part of your arm. A Mongol bow can punch through armor at 200 paces. You loose 12 arrows before an enemy closes the gap once. You learn to live in the saddle for days. You sleep riding. You eat riding. Strips of meat softened under your seat. Curd dried hard as stone. Mare's milk in a skin. When there is no water, you open a small vein in your horse's neck, drink, and seal it closed. Jarell gives you life on the ride. You would die before you let harm come to her. You ride 100 miles in a day and do it again tomorrow. Where other armies crawl, you appear like weather, out of a clear sky, where no one thought an army could be. You master the deadliest trick on the steppe, the feigned retreat. You break. You run. You look beaten, terrified, finished, and the enemy chases, screaming, straight into the trap. Then you wheel in the saddle and loose backward at a full gallop, the Parthian shot, and the hunters become the hunted in the space of a single breath. The discipline is absolute. No plunder until the battle is won. No man breaks formation for gold. The Khan has seen greed lose wars. In his army, greed gets you killed. You are given a paisa, a tablet of authority, and a place in 100. You are no longer a herder's son. You are a horseman of the great Khan, and the Khan is looking west. At night around the fire, Tamar asks what's out there, past the last hill anyone has seen. Nobody knows. Cities of stone, they say. Kings on golden thrones. Riches beyond counting. You touch the ankle bone at your throat and think of the grass. Of your father's words. A rider always comes home. You wonder how far this ride will take you from that home. Then the horns sound across the camp. Not for a hunt, not for a feud, for war on a scale the world has never seen. The whole nation is moving at once. You mount Geralt. You find Timur's grin beside you. Ahead of 100,000 riders, the horsetail banner lifts, and the grass itself begins to march west. Level 3, First Blood. Your first great battle is not against a city. It is against another steppe army, and it will teach you what you have become. The two hosts face each other across a plain, dust rising to the sky. Your mouth is dry. Your heart slams. Beside you, even Tamar has stopped smiling. The order comes down the line without a single shouted word. Flags, torches, the low call of horns. 10,000 men move like one body, like a single animal with one mind. You charge. The earth roars. Arrows darken the sun and fall like black rain. The man on your right is gone before you even hear him cry out. You loose, and loose, and loose. The way you once shot marmots on the grass, except these targets shoot back, and the fear is a live thing clawing up your throat. Then the command, break, retreat. You turn Geralt and flee, and it feels real. It feels like terror, because half of it is. The enemy roars and gives chase, formation dissolving into greed. You ride and ride, luring them across the open ground, stringing them out until the trap closes. Then the horns scream a new note, and the whole line wheels as one. You twist in the saddle and fire backward into the faces of the men who thought they'd won. Their charge shatters, panic spreads, and now you are the wolf, and they are the herd. You come face to face with a rider your own age. Time slows. Only one of you will ride home to a mother tonight. Your arm moves before your heart can vote. He falls. It is over faster than you can believe. The plain is silence and smoke, and the low moan of the wounded. You are alive. You won, and you feel absolutely nothing. That night you cannot eat. The boy's face hangs behind your eyes. Tamar sits beside you, says nothing, just pushes a skin of milk into your hands. He understands. They all do. The worst part is the truth you cannot say aloud. Some cold part of you was fast, was calm, was good at it, and that is the thing that frightens you most. But there is no time to grieve. One battle becomes 10. You are blooded now, trusted, promoted. The men beside you would ride into fire on your word. And you, for them, you learn what the Khan's war truly is. Cities that open their gates are spared. Cities that resist are made into a warning that the next city will never forget. It is terror, sharpened into a weapon. Mercy for the obedient. Annihilation for the defiant. And the story of it rides ahead of you faster than any horse, opening gates before you arrive. You tell yourself it is the way of the world. The strong ride, the weak kneel. You almost believe it, and then a caravan rides east that will set the whole world on fire. Level 4. The burning of the world. The Khan does not want the West. He wants trade. He sends merchants and envoys in peace to the great empire beyond the mountains, Khwarezmia. A governor of that empire looks at the caravan, sees only gold, and calls them spies. He kills the merchants. He seizes the goods. It is a small, greedy, stupid act. The Khan does not rage. He sends envoys to demand justice. Just justice, nothing more. The Shah's answer is to burn their beards and send their heads back across the border. They say the Khan climbs a mountain alone and does not come down for 3 days. When he returns, something in his face has changed. The time for peace is over. Now there will be fire. The insult was small. The answer will be the largest campaign the earth has ever seen. You ride west with an ocean of horsemen, and behind you, the grass empties for 1,000 miles. You cross deserts that have killed armies whole. You cross mountains where the air is thin as a blade. Where the Shah expects you in a year, you arrive in weeks, out of the wrong direction entirely. You come to the first city, the very city whose governor started this. Its walls are mud brick and mighty. Its people believe they are safe behind them. They are wrong. You have never fought stone before. So the Khan brings engineers from conquered lands, men who build siege towers, catapults, machines that vomit fire. The steppe learns to crack cities like eggs. You dam the river and turn it loose to drown the walls. You drive captured prisoners ahead of you to soak up the arrows. War here has no mercy in it, only mathematics. The city that murdered the caravan falls. Its governor, the man whose greed lit this fire, is dragged out alive. The Khan's justice for him becomes a story whispered in horror for centuries. One by one, the jewels of the empire fall. Cities of libraries, of fountains, of scholars, older and richer than anything on the grass. And one by one, the defiant ones are unmade. You ride through streets that were paradise a week ago. The silence is the loudest thing you have ever heard. You are the terror now, the thing that mothers name to frighten children. Something in you has gone quiet and cold. You are very good at this. You are alive because you are good at this. And late at night, that is the thought that will not let you sleep. The Shah, the proud king who burned the beards of peace, does not stand and fight. He runs. And the Khan sends 2 generals and 20,000 riders to chase him off the edge of the world. You are among them. You hunt a king across an entire empire, through mountains and cities and rivers, never resting, never stopping. A manhunt spanning thousands of miles. The most powerful ruler in the West dies alone on a tiny island in a cold sea, in rags, hunted to the last, with nothing. The empire he thought eternal is already gone, and you keep riding, past the empire, into lands with no name on any map you know. You scout kingdoms no Mongol has ever seen, and defeat armies that have never heard your language. You have ridden so far from the grass that you cannot picture your father's face anymore. You reach for the ankle bone at your throat, and for one terrible moment, you cannot remember the sound of home. Tamar rides beside you still, quieter now, older, the grin rarer. One night he says the thing you both fear. Brother, do you think the grass will even know us, if we ever get back? You do not answer, because the horns are sounding again. There is another army over the next hill. There is always another army, and the war is not finished with you yet. Level 5, the price. The years pile up like snow. You are scarred, lean, hard as the ankle bone at your throat. And war, sooner or later, collects from everyone. It happens on a gray morning, against an army twice your size. The trap goes wrong. The feigned retreat becomes a real one. And in the chaos, you lose sight of Tamar. You find him after, in the churned mud, an arrow where an arrow should never be. He is still grinning, because he is Tamar, and he would grin at death itself. But the light is going out. He grips your wrist. Don't you dare grieve me here, he says. Ride home. Touch the grass. Do it for both of us. And then your brother is gone, and the steppe takes one more of its children. The crowd of your own men roars victory around you. You don't hear it. You kneel in a foreign field holding your friend as the whole world you knew turns to ash in your sofa. That night you sit alone. You have conquered half the earth. Kings kneel at the sound of your banner, and you have never in your life felt so poor, or so far from home. The next dawn, the Khan himself rides the lines. He is old now, gray, but his eyes are the same fire that caught you as a boy. He stops. He looks at you, and he knows. He does not offer comfort. He offers the only thing he has ever offered, a truth. The grass remembers every hoof that crosses it, he says. Ride, and let it remember yours. Then go home. So you ride one last time, not for gold, not for glory, but because the men beside you need you, and because Tamar asked you to live. You lead the charge you should not survive. The world narrows to hoofbeats and heartbeat. You are wounded, exhausted, running on nothing but a dead man's last wish. And somehow, you are still in the saddle when the sun goes down. The last army breaks. The war, at long last, is won. The empire of the great Khan now stretches farther than any empire in the history of the world, from the eastern sea to the western mountains. And you turn your horse east, toward the rising sun, toward the grass, toward the one small hill where a father once set a boy on a dun mare and told him a rider always comes home. The ride home takes a year. The Khan you gave your life to dies along the way, and the whole world shakes at the news, but the grass does not. The grass simply waits. You are old when you finally see it. The bend in the river, the hill, the place where your tent once stood. Garel, gray-muzzled now, slow now, but still with you, carries you the last mile home. You dismount for the last time on the grass that made you. You kneel. You press your scarred hands flat against it, the way you once pressed them against a cold throne of snow as a boy, and you feel it. The warmth, the wind, the same wind that was your first lullaby, in the same grass, under the same endless, borderless sky. You are home. You kept the promise. You take the ankle bone from your throat, cracked now, worn smooth by a lifetime of battles, and you press it into the small hand of a child watching you. For luck, you tell him, a rider always comes home. You outlive the war. You outlive the Khan. And in time the great empire you bled to build will fracture, and fade, and be swallowed back into the very grass you were born on. Kings will fill the history books. Cities will remember their conquerors with fear, but no one will write your name. The herder's son, one hoof among a million, who rode to the edge of the world and came home. But the grass knows. The grass remembers every hoof that ever crossed it, and on a quiet step, when the wind moves the grass just so, if you listen, you can still hear the horseman ride. Forever,